My parents said I was just the responsible one while they paid for my brother's lies. I paid rent. He crashed cars. They even helped him hide a kid. Then he stole my credit and blamed me. So, I cut them off, helped the kid's mom sue him, and made sure everyone knew. Now they're broke, and I don't answer their calls. Hey Reddit, I don't usually post on here. I just scroll, read drama, and mind my business. But things at home went so sideways, I honestly didn't know where else to drop this. I, 31 female, am the older sister. Grew up in a pretty average house. 2 parents, 1 younger brother. You'd think being the firstborn, I'd get the respect, the responsibility, all that. And I did for about 5 years. Then Josh was born. Since then, I've basically just been the girl who works, pays bills, keeps quiet, and gets blamed when stuff goes sideways. Josh, 24, male, is 7 years younger than me. He's 24 now. Still lives at home, doesn't work, never has, unless you count a 3-week part-time job he quit because the manager was annoying. He stays up all night, sleeps all day, eats whatever's around, and talks to our parents like they're employees who owe him something. Meanwhile, when I lived with them, I was paying rent. Actual rent. I moved back in when I was 26 for a bit, just to stack some money after a rough stretch. I told them I'd chip in. Of course, I'm not a leech. First month back, Dad tells me the contribution is $600. I'm like, fine, it's their house. I paid it. The next day, I hear my mom say to Josh, "Don't worry, sweetheart, you focus on yourself." I asked if he was helping out too. She said, "He's not in the same position as you, right?" His position is playing video games and ignoring job applications. Mine was working 50 hours a week and still being treated like I owed them something just for existing. And it wasn't just about money. When Josh crashed my dad's car after taking it without asking, they covered it up like it was a simple mistake. He didn't have a license, lied about where he was going, hit a fence and dented the whole side. I found out because I walked into the garage and saw the damage. They told me not to say anything to the neighbors. I laughed. If that had been me, I'd still be getting lectured today. Hell, I'd probably be on the hook for repairs. But Josh? Nah. They said he was just stressed. Let me give you one more example of how deep the favoritism runs. A couple years ago, I was finally doing well for myself. Got promoted at work, had a few freelance gigs on the side. I was saving, planning for a condo, so I started helping out more. I'd send them grocery money without them asking. Helped fix the AC when it died in July. Paid for my dad's new phone. Didn't ask for anything in return. One weekend, I came over to visit. I walk in and my mom's talking about how Josh has been trying to get into digital media and might need a better setup. She looks at me and says, "Could you help him get a computer?" I asked Josh directly what he needed it for. He shrugs and says, "I just want a decent rig so I can stream." That was it. Not work, not study, just stream. I said, "No." Mom gave me this disappointed look like I was the one being unreasonable. She said, "You always have something negative to say." What she meant was, "You're not enabling him, so now you're the problem." It all added up over time. I was expected to give, and he was expected to receive. The rules were just different for us. If I was tired from work, I was lazy. If Josh stayed in bed till 2 p.m., he was going through something. Honestly, the worst part wasn't even the money. It was how normal they made it all seem. Like I was the crazy one for noticing. Like I was the ungrateful one, the outsider. And no matter how much I helped out, it never balanced the scales, not even close. There was this one time I took a week off work to help Dad with something around the house, some busted plumbing and electrical problems. Spent all week fixing stuff, sweating in a crawl space, doing things they would have paid a stranger thousands to do. I left Sunday night tired as hell. The next day, Josh posted on social media about how some people just show up for praise but don't actually care. I knew it was about me. He didn't tag me, but I knew. When I brought it up, my mom said he didn't mean it that way. Don't start drama. I could feel something shift in me then. Not anger, just detachment. Like whatever rope I'd been using to tie myself to this family had finally frayed and snapped. Not all at once, but piece by piece, until there was nothing left holding me to them. So yeah, that's the background. That's how it always was. I was the one working, the one paying, the one fixing things, and somehow still the one being treated like I wasn't doing enough. Meanwhile, Josh sat on his ass, treated everyone like garbage, and got away with it because he's sensitive. After everything I'd already dealt with, I still gave them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why. Habit, maybe, guilt, whatever. I was raised to be the bigger person, which in my family just meant take more crap than anyone else and keep paying for it. Anyway, I had moved out again, got my own place, 1-bedroom apartment, nothing fancy, but clean, quiet, and finally mine. I still sent my parents money every now and then, usually small stuff, groceries, utilities, the occasional, Josh's phone bill is due and he's going through a rough time again. I never got so much as a thank you, not once. I was working remotely, getting steady contracts, finally building some savings. I wasn't rich, but I was doing okay enough to relax a bit for the first time in years. And even with how they'd treated me, I still made the mistake of thinking maybe they'll appreciate it eventually. Then came the final straw. It was around March. My lease was ending in June, and I was thinking about house hunting. Nothing big, just a small starter place. I'd been talking to my cousin Jack about it. We were close in age, grew up together, solid dude, only one in the whole family who ever told me the truth straight. No fake positivity or guilt trips, just honesty. One night, he texted me, "Hey, you still planning to buy a place? You might want to check your credit report." Weird, but okay. I checked, and I almost threw my phone. There was a new credit card under my name. $6,700 balance. Opened 3 months ago. Maxed out. Late fees piling up. I never opened that card. I never authorized it. My hands were shaking. Guess whose name was listed on the card as an authorized user? Josh. I called the bank, confirmed the address on file. It was my parents' house. They'd used my info, my social, my full name, everything. I was done. I didn't even call them. I drove straight over there, walked into the house, no knocking. My mom was in the kitchen. She looked up, smiled like nothing was wrong. Me, where's Josh? Her, in his room. Me, I'm not asking why. I'm telling you, get him out here. She starts panicking. What happened? I said one sentence. He stole my identity and opened a credit card in my name. You know what she said? He didn't steal it. We thought you wouldn't mind. They were all in on it. I just stared at her like I didn't even recognize her anymore. My own mother. My dad walked in acting like I just interrupted his favorite show. He said, "You're overreacting." Josh finally came out. Looked like he just rolled out of bed. Hair all messed up, wearing some stupid hoodie he probably bought with my money. He had the balls to say, "It's not that serious, sis. You've got a good job." No apology, no shame. I told them all right there. I was done. Not just annoyed, not just taking a break. Done. I made them sit there while I called the bank to report it. Reported the fraud. Froze my credit. Told the rep on speaker they stole from me. My mom tried crying. My dad kept muttering, "It's not that deep." I walked out while Josh was still complaining that I ruined his chances at rebuilding his credit. I didn't answer a single call after that. I changed my number, blocked them all, even blocked a few aunts and uncles I knew would come poking around asking questions. For a while it was silent, but not for long. About a month later, I started getting calls from random numbers, voicemails, Facebook messages. They were all saying the same crap. Your parents are struggling. Josh is depressed again. Family is family. You can't just disappear. My uncle even said, "Be a woman and go fix this." I wanted to laugh. Be a woman. I spent most of my adult life cleaning up messes I didn't make. That was being a woman. They just didn't like that I finally stopped. They tried to guilt me hard. Said I abandoned the family. Said I owed it to them. Said they raised me. Let me make this clear. They raised a workhorse, not a daughter. They raised someone they could lean on, someone they could dump their failures on, someone who would never say no until I finally did. The only person who stood by me was Jack. He told the rest of the family to back off, said they were lucky I didn't press charges. He even offered to help me sue, but I didn't want to drag it out. I just wanted to be free, and I was. Finally, I closed that fraud case, recovered my credit, landed a new job a few months later. Way better pay, better hours, full benefits. Moved into a house last fall. 3 bedrooms, clean garage, small yard, nothing crazy, just mine. And then came the moment that made everything worth it. About a week after I moved in, I got a knock at the door. Middle of the day, I opened it and saw Josh standing there, Same hoodie, same loser attitude. He said, "I heard you got a place." I didn't say anything. He goes, "Mom and Dad are going to lose the house. Can we stay here for a while?" I looked him dead in the face. "No." And then I shut the door. Not slammed, just closed. Calm, simple. And that was it. No yelling, no fight. Just the door closing on a guy who thought he could steal from me, lie to me, and still get a handout. That moment, that's the one I waited for my whole life. After I closed the door on Josh, I stood there for maybe 5 seconds. No yelling, no knocking, nothing. He didn't try again. I think he got it. For once in his life, he didn't get his way, and there wasn't anyone around to twist it into sympathy for him. I didn't hear from them again for a while. They probably expected me to feel bad. That's always how it went. They'd pull something messed up, and then somehow I'd be the one apologizing. This time, I didn't call. I didn't unblock them. I didn't tell myself it was just family stuff because it wasn't. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did for them. Rent money, groceries, phone bills, gas, repairs, gifts for holidays, bragging rights. I was the kid they could point to when they wanted to pretend they raised someone, right? Meanwhile, I was never allowed to say no. Not once. It's funny how quiet things get when people realize they can't guilt you anymore. But the silence didn't last long. 3 months later, Jack and I grabbed dinner at this small burger spot we both liked. I hadn't seen him in person since the credit card mess, but we kept in touch. He never judged me, just listened, gave his thoughts when I asked, and stayed out of the family drama. He always told me I should have cut them off years ago, but he never said, "I told you so." We sat down and he gave me a heads up. "Jack, so just so you know, your mom's been talking to my mom." Me. "Yeah, what now, Jack?" Jack. "Same old crap. She says Josh is having a hard time. Says they might have to sell the house. They're trying to make it sound like you're abandoning them." I nodded. I wasn't even surprised. Jack said his mom didn't buy into it, but other relatives might. And he was right. That same week, I started getting random texts from family I hadn't spoken to in years. One said, "You need to step up. They're your parents." Another said, "Whatever they did, family is family." And one guy I didn't even know well said, "He's your brother. You're older. Be a woman." I blocked every single number. Let's get one thing straight. I wasn't punishing anyone. I just stopped volunteering to be used. They had chances, years of them, and they made their choice every single time. Josh got defended. I got told to grow up. He got excuses. I got responsibilities. So yeah, I wasn't helping anymore, and they didn't like that. Things escalated when they realized the door wasn't going to reopen. My mom went full campaign mode. She started messaging friends of mine on Facebook, even a couple coworkers, told them she was worried about me, said I was being manipulated by Jack, said Jack was jealous of our family closeness. What closeness? Jack showed me the screenshots. One of the messages literally said, "We raised our daughter right, but Jack is turning her cold." He laughed when he showed me. I didn't. I was done being mad, but it still felt disgusting seeing my own mom talk about me like I was someone else's problem to fix. After that, I posted one final thing on my socials before I deactivated everything. Just to be clear, I'm doing fine. I live alone. I pay for everything myself. I don't steal, lie, or take advantage of people. If anyone's telling you I've changed, it's probably because I stopped letting them do those things to me. That was it. I disappeared from online after that. Deleted Facebook, locked down everything else. They couldn't reach me directly anymore, so they started leaning on Jack. He told me they showed up at his mom's house twice, asked if he could just pass a message or help smooth things over. Jack said no, straight to their faces. He told my dad, "You didn't lose your daughter, you lost your ATM." I never asked him to say that. He just did. Jack always had a way of cutting through nonsense. I didn't think they could sink lower after the fraud, but they weren't done. Around 6 months after I cut them off, I got a letter in the mail. A real one. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was my mom's. The letter was 3 pages long. It started like a fake apology, then turned into a full-on guilt trip. She talked about how parents aren't perfect and how forgiveness is part of growing up. Said she was disappointed that I was letting money come between us. Then the last paragraph hit different. "If you're going to pretend you don't have a family, then don't be surprised when we leave you out of important things. You'll regret missing weddings, babies, funerals. That's what happens when you turn your back." That's when it finally clicked. They didn't want peace. They wanted leverage. The family talk was just a tool to get back what I took away. Access to my wallet and my time. I didn't reply. The only reason I even kept that letter was to remind myself how far they were willing to go. But life got better after that. I got a promotion. I fixed up the house. I started working out again, not for looks, just to feel solid. Jack and I started working on a side business. Simple online stuff, but it's growing. I even took a short vacation, first one in years. No one calling, no one asking for favors, just silence. And it felt good. The last time I saw Josh was the day I shut the door on him. The last time I spoke to my parents was when they stood in their kitchen defending identity theft. I don't know where they are now. I don't care. They had a daughter. They chose to use her. And now they don't get to say they raised a good woman because they didn't. I built myself. Jack had my back. That was more family than I ever got from them. A few months after I blocked them out, life was finally quiet. I was working steady, sleeping better, eating real food instead of cheap, fast stuff. No constant phone calls, no guilt texts. Jack and I were even putting real hours into our side project. Then I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I wouldn't answer, but this one had a local area code, and I figured it might be work-related. It wasn't. It was my old high school buddy, Sam. We hadn't talked in years, but I always liked the guy. Solid dude, never into drama. The call started normal, but then he said something that made my stomach tighten. Sam, hey, random question. Was your brother ever dating a girl named Lena back in the day? Me, yeah, Josh dated Lena during senior year. Why? He sighed. Mary, you need to hear this. Back when we were all teenagers, Lena had a rough time at home. Bad stepdad, mom who didn't care. She was quiet, kept to herself. Dated Josh for a bit, but it didn't last long. Turns out something happened back then, and it was covered up. Josh had gotten her pregnant. I didn't know. No one did. She was 17. He was 18. According to Sam, she didn't tell anyone at first, just disappeared for a few weeks. Sam said one day he ran into her downtown, and she looked like she hadn't eaten in days. He bought her lunch, and they talked. That's when she told him. She was scared, didn't know what to do, but she had told Josh. What did he do? He told her it wasn't his, blocked her, laughed in her face, called her names, said she was trying to trap him. And here's the worst part. My parents found out. Instead of helping, they paid her off to shut up. Sam swore he saw my dad handing an envelope to Lena behind the rec center. She was crying, and my mom was in the car looking straight ahead like it wasn't even happening. I didn't want to believe it. I asked Jack. He didn't know either, but he offered to help me find out. I started digging. A few calls, old social media, some messages. Took about 2 weeks, but we found her. Lena still lived in the area, not far from where we grew up. She agreed to meet for coffee. I didn't bring Jack, didn't record anything, didn't try to catch her. I just wanted the truth. And she gave it to me. Yes, she had gotten pregnant by Josh. She told him. He denied it. Then 2 days later, my mom and dad showed up at her apartment. They didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They just made it clear this baby wasn't going to ruin Josh's future. They gave her cash, told her she had options, and that if she ever told anyone, she'd be painted as a liar and a gold digger. Small town stuff. Easy to destroy a girl's name. She took the money, she left town, she had the baby. Josh has a daughter and no one knows. No child support, no visits, no calls, nothing. I asked Lena what she wanted from me. She said nothing, just closure. She said, I always knew you weren't like them. I didn't sleep that night. This wasn't some family argument. This wasn't favoritism. This was evil. They erased a kid, lied to everyone, paid off a scared girl to protect their golden boy, all while acting like they were this wholesome, perfect family. Meanwhile, they were dumping guilt and rent and bills on me while protecting a guy who made a kid and walked away. And they didn't feel bad about it. They just buried it. That's when I stopped thinking about peace. I started thinking about payback. I didn't scream. I didn't post anything online. I made a plan. I called a lawyer. Not to sue them yet, but to understand my options. I wasn't on any paperwork tied to Lena's kid, but I could vouch for her and I could help her take it legal if she ever wanted to force a paternity test. My lawyer explained that Josh could be on the hook for years of unpaid support. That's step 1. Step 2 was reputation. My parents love pretending they're this generous, selfless couple. They go to every church event, community cookout. They love being pillars of the neighborhood. So I talked to Lena again. She gave me permission to share her story with proof, photos, messages from back then, a copy of the original money order they gave her. She kept it all. I printed it, wrote a clean timeline, and mailed it anonymously to every board member at their church, every neighborhood Facebook group, and the local school council where my mom volunteers. Jack helped me distribute it. He even got the church bulletin lady to sneak a copy into the donation envelopes. They didn't know what hit them. By the end of that month, Josh lost his job. He worked under a guy whose wife got the letter. My mom was removed from the school committee pending review. My dad? Someone keyed his car and left a note taped to the windshield. Pay for the kid your son left behind. They knew it was me. I didn't hide. I sent them a text for the first time in over a year. This is just the start. I'm not done. They never replied. Now I'm helping Lena quietly get legal steps started. She doesn't want money. She wants Josh to own it, to show up, to explain to that kid why he vanished. He won't, but we're going to make him try. This is the first time I've ever felt in control. They made me the outsider. Now I'm making sure the outside sees exactly who they are, and I'm not even close to finished. After the truth about Josh's kid started spreading, it didn't take long for my parents to hit full damage control mode. They went radio silent for a while, which was weird in itself. I figured they were regrouping. I was right. About a month later, I got a letter in the mail. Not a text, not an email. A formal letter with a printed header from my dad's business and everything, like they were trying to make it look official. Inside, they asked, no, demanded, that I cease all attempts to sabotage the family's reputation and take responsibility for the damage caused. My mom even included a line about how I owed them for years of shelter, food, and support. It was the most delusional thing I've ever read. Keep in mind, this is after I found out they covered up a pregnancy to protect Josh. After they let me carry their bills for years. After they made me pay rent as a teen while he lived there for free, crashed cars, never worked, and got treated like royalty. And now somehow I was the problem. Jack took one look at the letter and just said, let them sue. They'll lose. But I knew they weren't serious about legal action. That letter was a scare tactic, an attempt to guilt me back into line. Classic move from them. They didn't care about the truth getting out. They cared about losing control over how people saw them. So I ignored it. And that's when the phone calls started again. First, from relatives, uncles, cousins, people I hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly acting all concerned. I could tell exactly where they were getting their info from. One cousin even said, your mom says you're spreading lies because you're jealous of Josh's success. I almost laughed out loud. Success? The guy was jobless, sleeping in the same room he had at 16, and still asking for money to start a business that doesn't exist. Then came the guilt trips. They took you in when no one else would. You're acting like they never helped you. You're ruining your family over a mistake Josh made as a teenager. Mistake? They helped him hide a child. But no one wanted to hear that part. They wanted me to be the villain, the ungrateful daughter. It made their version easier to swallow. Then my dad showed up at my house. Didn't call, didn't text, just rang the bell and stood there like I was supposed to drop everything. I opened the door, didn't say a word. He starts in with the whole, we need to talk routine. I just leaned on the frame and let him go. He said the family's name was being dragged through the dirt, that his clients were pulling out, that my actions were causing real damage. He even tried to throw Josh under the bus a little, saying he made a mistake, but they had to protect him because he wasn't ready to be a father. I asked him, so you decided it was better to pay off the girl and pretend the kid didn't exist? He didn't answer that. Then he dropped the real reason for his visit. He needed money. After all that, after years of being used, after they turned the entire family against me, after they backed a deadbeat son who abandoned his kid and lied about it, they came to me for help. Said he needed a temporary loan to keep the business afloat, promised to pay it back with interest, acted like I should be proud to support the family legacy. That's when I lost it. I told him the truth with no filter. You made your bed with Josh. Now sleep in it. Don't come to the daughter you treated like a tenant and beg for cash. You picked your golden boy. Go ask him. He tried to guilt me again. Said, no matter what, we're still family. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, no, you're just people I used to know. Then I closed the door. He stood there for a minute, then left. No yelling, no drama, just silence. But I knew that wasn't the end. The next week, they took it to Facebook. Yeah, grown adults airing it out online like teenagers. My mom posted a long status about how some people forget who raised them, and when you feed a snake, it still bites. Stuff like that. Comments rolled in. Some people backed her, others tagged me. I didn't respond. I let people talk. And meanwhile, Jack and I kept helping Lena prepare legal action. We'd already talked to a family law attorney. Josh would be served soon. She wanted full custody. She already had it, but also retroactive child support. That's tens of thousands. Josh didn't know it was coming, neither did my parents. But they would soon. This chapter of my life, it's not about reconnecting, it's not about healing, it's about making things right for the people they tried to screw over. And I'm not doing it with shouting or social media. I'm doing it with cold, legal, public consequences. Let them see what happens when the kid they underestimated finally stops playing nice. It finally happened. Josh got served. He was still living at home. Obviously, the guy had no job, no real bills, and hadn't made a single effort to move out. So when the process server showed up, it was at my parents' front door. My mom tried to argue with the guy as if she could block a legal document from being handed over, but the server wasn't having it, left it right in Josh's hands, and walked away. Lena's name was right there, along with the demand for retroactive child support and a paternity test. Jack told me later because he still had a friend in the neighborhood. Josh apparently threw the paperwork on the ground and started yelling that it was fake. My dad picked it up and said they'd get their attorney involved. Sure. These are the same people who thought a Facebook post would fix their public image. Anyway, I didn't hear anything from them directly, not for 2 weeks. Then came the letter. Another printed envelope, this time from a law firm in town I actually recognized. I opened it expecting a threat. It was worse. They were trying to sue me. The letter accused me of public defamation, malicious interference with family stability, and intentionally weaponizing private matters for social retaliation. All nonsense, nothing illegal, nothing provable. But it showed me something more important. They weren't in damage control anymore. They were desperate. I called my lawyer. He laughed. "This isn't even real legal ground," he said. "They're trying to intimidate you." So I told him I wanted to hit back. Not emotionally, not online. Legally. He helped me draft a response. We stated that I had never publicly named anyone, never posted anything, never committed defamation, that everything I shared privately was based on documented facts and first-hand accounts with the subject's permission. And then I added a paragraph at the end. Given the family's own history of financial exploitation, selective financial support, and confirmed emotional mistreatment, any public trial would only further expose their misconduct. That was a warning shot. They never replied. Then came Josh's paternity results. Positive, no surprise there. What did surprise me was how fast Lena's attorney moved. She filed for back child support immediately. Her case was solid. Years of evidence showing he'd known, denied, and avoided responsibility. My parents' hush money stunt even strengthened it. Josh was now on the hook for unpaid support plus future payments. We're talking thousands per month. And guess who they tried to make pay? Me. My mom had the nerve to send me a voicemail crying, saying I was destroying the family financially, and that I needed to take responsibility for what I started. She said Josh was too mentally fragile to deal with all this stress, and that I needed to help keep this family together. No joke. She even said, "You make the most money. It's only fair you carry the burden." Fair. I carried everything while Josh got babied and praised for doing nothing, and now they wanted me to pay for his kid. I didn't even respond. Jack heard the voicemail too and just stared at the wall for like 10 seconds before saying, "That might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard." Here's where things started flipping for good. Remember those people who originally backed my parents online? Relatives, family, friends, old neighbors? They started seeing through it. People were hearing about Josh's kid, the support order, the cover-up, and they were connecting the dots. Aunt Leah, who was always close to my mom, called me out of nowhere. She said, "I didn't believe it at first, but it's all true, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." She apologized, said she should have seen it years ago, that I was always the one working, helping, supporting. Josh was always lounging, using, burning bridges. That call was the first of many. By the end of the month, about half the extended family had either messaged me privately or cut off my parents completely. Even my uncle, my mom's brother, told her to get help and stop blaming the wrong child. That one really hit her. She posted a crying selfie on Facebook the next day. Meanwhile, Lena's case kept moving. Her lawyer wasn't messing around. The court ordered Josh to start payments immediately. They also scheduled a hearing for parental responsibility violations because Lena submitted a statement showing how Josh had avoided involvement for over a decade with help from his parents. Translation: my mom and dad might be dragged in too. They went from smug and untouchable to scared and exposed in less than 3 months. One day, Jack and I were sitting on my porch. We had just finished a meeting with a supplier for our side business. Things were going well, calm, quiet. Then I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. A moving truck in front of my parents' house. The message just said, "They're selling, can't keep up anymore." I didn't even smile. I just nodded. They finally hit rock bottom. The house they protected so much, where they let Josh freeload and treated me like an unwanted tenant, was gone. The reputation they bragged about at every community dinner, gone. Josh's future, tied to child support and legal records now. And me, I was free. I had my business. I had people who respected me. I had peace. And most importantly, I had the receipts. All of it saved, documented, ready if they ever tried anything again. So after the house got sold, they moved into a much smaller place in an older part of town. Same area, different status. No more big backyard, no more two-car garage. Just a tiny duplex that didn't even have proper heating. They didn't tell anyone. Someone from the old neighborhood spotted them unloading the truck and sent me a photo. Turns out they weren't just broke, they were in debt. Bad debt. My dad's business folded. Some of his clients backed out once they heard about the lawsuit, and he never adapted. Still tried to run it like it was 2003. My mom had been using credit cards to cover bills behind his back, and once the payments dried up, everything defaulted. Credit score tanked. Bills piled up. They were borrowing from relatives who already knew they were liars. So yeah, things were falling apart. And Josh, he was worse. Josh still had no job. That child support order kicked in hard, right out of the little savings he had. Lena's lawyer was ruthless with enforcement, garnished every account he touched. Any gig he tried to pick up under the table got flagged. He was even denied a passport when he tried to claim he had a job opportunity abroad. That was a lie, of course. He started calling old friends, asking for help. Most of them ignored him. The ones who didn't gave him maybe $50 here or there, then blocked him when he kept asking. Then he tried to call me. Didn't even have the guts to text first. Straight up called me like we were cool. I didn't answer. So he left a voicemail. Sounded tired. Said he never meant for things to go this far. That he felt like everyone turned on him and that he was just trying to survive. No apology, no owning what he did, just excuses. He ended the message with, "You win." Okay, are you happy now? I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. This wasn't about winning. It was about finally watching them live the life they made for themselves. The last time I saw my parents was about 4 months after they sold the house. I was walking out of a hardware store, just picked up supplies for the new office space. Their car was parked near the sidewalk. They saw me this time. My mom opened the door and called out, "Wait, please just wait." I didn't stop, but they caught up. She looked rough, tired, shaky. My dad looked smaller than I remembered. He wasn't wearing his usual smug expression, just quiet. "We just want to talk." My mom said, "We're sorry, we were wrong. Josh has ruined everything, and we see that now." She started crying. My dad didn't say a word, just stood there behind her. "We need help," she said. "We're not asking for much, just something to get us through." I looked them both in the eye. No anger, no shouting. Just said, "No." That was it. My mom blinked like she didn't hear me right. "Please, we're your parents." I shrugged. "You weren't when it counted." And I walked away. I walked to my car, loaded my supplies in the trunk, and drove away without looking back. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I owed them a second of my time, a cent of my money, or a piece of my peace. That day, I realized something. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. They wanted access. Access to my wallet, access to my stability, access to the life I had built. But forgiveness? That's mine to give silently, on my own terms, without letting them back in to destroy me again. And I did forgive them in a way. Forgave myself for taking so long to walk away. Forgave myself for thinking I could ever be enough to balance the scales. The truth is, there were never scales. There was only a system where Josh was protected, excused, defended, and I was the safety net. Once I cut the net, they fell. Jack told me later he ran into my mom at the grocery store. She tried to corner him, begged him to talk me into a family sit-down. He told her flat out, "Mary doesn't owe you anything." He said she looked like she'd been slapped, but he didn't take it back. And that's the thing. Jack never sugarcoated anything for me. He didn't let me wallow in guilt. He just reminded me, "You spent 30 years holding them up. They spent 30 years tearing you down. Let go." So I did. Life moved on. Lena won her case. Josh was officially on the hook for support. No loopholes left. When he tried to dodge payments, his wages, what little there were, got garnished. He lost his license for a while. His credit dropped lower than mine had ever been, even after the fraud. My parents? They slipped further into obscurity. No more neighborhood parties, no more church board seats. They stopped showing up because they couldn't stand the whispers. Their golden boy had turned into a cautionary tale. and their perfect family image was shattered for good. Me, I kept building. My job got better. My side business with Jack took off. I invested, saved, traveled, took control of my life in ways I didn't think were possible when I was stuck in that cycle of guilt and obligation. And for the first time, I lived without waiting for the phone to ring with another crisis. Because even when the calls came, and yes, they still tried sometimes, I didn't answer. The voicemails piled up, sometimes from unknown numbers, sometimes from cousins or old family friends, always with the same line: "They're your parents. You'll regret this someday." But here's what none of them understood. I already regretted. I regretted wasting years of my life trying to be what they wanted, regretted letting them steal my peace, regretted carrying burdens that were never mine. What I don't regret is walking away. Because walking away gave me everything staying never could: freedom, clarity, and the chance to actually live. I haven't seen Josh since that day at my door. Haven't spoken to my parents since that moment outside the hardware store. And if that never changes, I'll be okay. They made their choices. They chose Josh over honesty. They chose appearances over love. They chose silence over accountability. And I chose me. That's not cruelty. That's survival. It's funny, people always say, family is family. But what they forget is that family is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to mean protection, support, unconditional care. When it means exploitation, manipulation, and betrayal, that's not family. That's a trap. And I walked out. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I don't dread the day ahead. I brew my coffee, step into my backyard, and feel grateful that everything around me is mine. Paid for with my money, built with my effort, protected by my boundaries. Sometimes I think about that younger version of me, the girl who paid rent while her brother played video games, who fixed plumbing while her parents praised his sensitivity, who kept giving and wondering why it never felt like enough. I wish I could tell her what I know now, that she didn't have to earn their love, that she wasn't crazy for noticing the unfairness, that one day she'd stop waiting for them to change and start changing her own life instead. I can't go back and tell her, but I can live in a way that honors her struggle. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So if anyone out there is listening and feels trapped in a family that only takes, let me say this: you're not selfish for walking away. You're not cruel for saying no. You're not ungrateful for protecting yourself. You're just finally giving yourself what they never did: respect. And once you do, you'll see what I see now. Peace isn't something they give you, it's something you claim. And once it's yours, you never give it back.